Guys, this is Matt here with That Hand Works with another video for you on MTG, Magic the Gathering. This one is going to be a spoiler video about Battle to Zendikar, or Battle for Zendikar, I guess. It's kind of a set that's near and dear to the heart a little bit. I originally started playing back on the original Ravnica series, then kind of quit for a while and came back in the original Zendikar set. So this is kind of a homecoming anniversary, I guess, if you want to put it that way. So we'll go through a few of the different cards here and kind of see what you guys think. I'll give you a few of my thoughts. Bear in mind that most of these thoughts will be related to casual, modern, or commander mostly, but if I find that, or I believe that's going to be particularly impactful in standard, I may mention. So we'll just go through the list. I am on Magic the Gathering Salvation looking at these spoilers. I do highly recommend this site for my personal reasons. I'm not endorsed to say so by any means. But I do highly recommend this site. It is a great forum for discussing your ideas, getting deck advice, discussing individual cards, and even speculation if you're into the whole Magic the Gathering monetary scene. So there's that as well. So we'll go ahead and start off here. We'll just go down the list. Evolving Wilds, it is what it is. It's your fetch land that fetches tapped lands versus untapped. In a pinch, it works just fine. Probably, I put at least one Evolving Wilds and one Terramorphic Expanse, which is basically the exact same card with a different name, in every single commander deck I make. Because you can't pack more than one of any named card in a commander deck, so I find that these are excellent ways to, deck thinning doesn't really mean anything statistically speaking if you really crunch the numbers, and especially when you're talking about a 100 card deck, it means less than nothing. But early game color fixing is never bad, so throw a couple of them in, you may get lucky and see one in a pinch. Guardian of Tazim, 5 mana, 3, 2 blue, 4/5 flyer. It's already pretty par for the course. Landfall, whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, tap target creature and both controls. If the land that you dropped was an island, it doesn't untap. Mono blue commander, screams mono blue commander to me. Mono blue does not have a lot of hard removal, and having repeatable removal, or pseudo removal, I guess, in Commander is fantastic in mono blue, and you're going to couple that on top of a 4/5 body, which is already a 10-turn clock in Commander. So that's not good, but you get the idea that this is, you're going to guarantee to hit the claws every single time because you're dropping islands. Throw that on top of something like Merfolk Wayfinder, which searches you up some islands and throws them into your hand. You're good. Land some good island cycling cards if you happen to have any, and you can trigger this fairly regularly. And of course, pulling lands directly out of your library in Commander is never a bad thing, because most of your spells are going to start hitting around 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 mana or so is where you really want to be in a Commander deck typically. So hitting this at 5 mana, if you happen to pull it out, and then being able to drop and keep your opponents at bay, beautiful card for Commander. I don't really see it seeing much play in any other format. Hero of Gomafada, it's an ally. This is a returning theme from the original Zendikar series. It's a 5 mana 4/3, another asymmetrical. Power toughness, which is, mind you, very rare for creatures. So the fact that we've run into 2 already kind of shows that maybe asymmetrical power toughness may be a thing, which is important when it comes to the card Gilt-Leaf Winnower, which will kill any non-elf with asymmetrical power toughness. Asymmetrical meaning that power and toughness are not equal. So 4/5, 4/3, 4/5, 5/5 is symmetrical. It says whenever it or another ally enters the battlefield under control, creatures you control gain indestructible. This is a really late game thing, but it has the advantage of being a 5th turn drop it. All creatures you have on the battlefield are indestructible that turn. Depending on what you're playing up until that turn, a mid-range deck is still just going to outclass you, and it's still pointless to swing even though your creatures have indestructible, because then you just leave yourself wide open with your 1/1s and 2/1s swinging into 4/3s, 3/3s, 2/3s. Where are you going to get? You're getting nowhere. I don't care if they're indestructible or not. I don't really see this ability being that great without some way of regularly or reliably pumping your team. So we'll have to see what else is launched in Allies, but as of right now, I don't think this card is worth playing at all. Hedron Archive, this is another commander card as far as I'm concerned. 4 mana is kind of steep for anything in Standard or especially Modern. I could maybe see it on the kitchen table in a very casual environment because it gives you the 2 mana that you can use to maybe ramp into your 6 mana commander the next turn. And then later in the game when it becomes obsolete, you just turn it into 2 more cards, which is pretty good. So I can very much see this in Commander, maybe some casual control decks, I guess, where you're going to you're going to use this turn 4, turn into, I don't know, Elspeth Sun's Champion, and then milk that for a while until you are land flooded, and then sack it and turn it into creatures. So Hedron Archive, I can see it having some play in casual, but no competitive format's going to run it. Next card we're going to look at here is Rolling Thunder. 2 mana X red spell. Rolling Thunder deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target players and or creatures. Creatures and or players, I guess, is the actual terminology on here. I play a Fireball deck. I have one. Runs a bunch of things like... we'll get into a deck tech about that later. Anyway, I could see maybe that deck wanting this. Probably limited fodder here, but I don't really see it being good beyond that. Can't think of any other format where that would be desirable. Next card we're going to look at is Defiant Bloodlord. It is a black 7 mana flying vampire, 4/5. Again, asymmetrical toughness, power toughness, so that's relevant in Standard, or for all the wrong reasons. And then it says whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Again, I think this is a limited bomb. I think this has no playability in Standard. Depending on what kind of support maybe Tribal Vampires gets, but by itself it's just not good enough. At 7 mana, that's a lot. And all you get's a 4/5 body. But in Commander, I can see this. In Casual, I can see this. Why? Well, it's a combo piece. There are decks out there that will combo out with this using, I believe it's called Exquisite Blood. It's a 5 mana black enchantment where whenever you gain life, or whenever your opponent loses life, you gain that much. And so this becomes the exact opposite of that, which there's an enchantment for, but this becomes a second piece to that. Also, Vizkopa Guildmage, it's the Return to Ravnica Orzhov Guildmage, doubles this ability too if you tap 3 or 4 mana or something to activate the ability. So if you're looking for a combo piece in black or black-white, I can see this as a place, and that is a Commander thing. I can't see that anywhere else. Maybe 60 card casual, but that still feels like a stretch. You would just run 4 of your regular pieces in Commander, where you're forced to run as many opposite copies or different copies of a similar effect as possible. Defiant Bloodlord gains value there, so I can see that as a Commander card. And of course, limited bomb. Omnath Locust of Rage as a legendary creature, so this is a new Commander. Can be played in place of Omnath Locust of Mana, who was pretty much the exact same thing, except for instead of being a gold, red, green, it was just a mono green, and was ramp extraordinaire. This one allows you to put mad amounts of 5/5, which is huge, tokens into play. Totally see this being played in Commander all day, every day. It's an awesome Commander. And it works really well in something like, let's say, a Babori Gamos Enraged deck could run this as a token, or the vice versa, as a member of that deck or as the commander of that deck. Where you're going to have a deck that focuses as a red-green rampy, where you just have tons of lands and you're just looking for something to do with them. Borborygmos, discard them into lightning bolts. Omnath, drop them into 5/5 creatures. Either way, I can see this going very well, but competes with Borborygmos. I think Borborygmos may be the better of the two, but I may end up eating those words. Next card we're going to look at is Gideon's Reproach. 2 mana, instant. Gideon's Reproach deals 4 damage to our attacking or blocking creature. This is very good, I think. I can see white-blue control playing this. I can even see maybe a mono-white soldiers deck or mono-white aggro, white weenie, or even some more modern variation of the mono-white devotion after it loses Nykthos and that kind of thing right now. But the thing about mono-white devotion is it doesn't really play a lot of Theros cards. So I can see that deck kind of surviving the rotation in some degree, and then using Gideon's Reproach as an awesome way to punt it. So it allows you to swing in with reckless abandon. You turn 4, you drop Archangel of Tides, and then turn 5, you drop your 5th mana, swing in with everything. You activate the indestructibility of Gideon. They declare blockers, and then you Gideon's Reproach one of them away. Or you tap out to swing in with Gideon to flip him into his Planeswalker mode. Tap 3, give him indestructible, make sure that he survives the transaction. They swing on your backswing, and you kill one of their attackers outright. Gideon's Approach, very good. I can see definitely a place for this in both in both control and standard, as well as kind of some sort of white weenie or mono-white devotion deck. Barrage Tyrant. This is a very interesting card. I could see this in maybe a Duretti, Salvage, or Scrap Savant commander deck, because it's a red card. It's technically colorless by card identity, which is going to be very interesting in Commander. I think there's a lot of implications for Commander in this set, but we'll get to that in a second. So anyway, it's technically colorless, so you can put it in any deck. However, you can only tap mana for colors equal to or that are within your Commander's color identity. So if your Commander doesn't have a red color identity, this card's useless. There's no way you'd ever be able to play it. So outside of maybe Mycosynth Lattice shenanigans, but I don't think that's worth it for any of these cards, any of these Eldrazi spoiled so far. But the Barrage Tyrant is 5 mana, 5/3, and it's okay. Dies to Lightning Strike. This is pretty relevant when you're talking about a 5 mana card dying to a 2 mana card. But it's got an interesting ability. Tap 3, and you get to fling one of your other Eldrazi. Or maybe you get to fling, I don't know. You're talking about 5 mana into the game. Let's say you put down a Hangerback Walker turn 2, pump it turn 3, turn 4. Turn 5, you drop Barrage Tyrant. Turn 6, you pump your Hangerback Walker again. So it's a 5/5 now. Tap 3, do 5 to the face, and get 5 tokens. Sounds okay to me. I can see that. That's a little slow, but Hangerback Walker is so powerful, and really you're talking about only taking up 8 maximum. Talking about maximum 8 slots in a 60 card deck. I can kind of see that, especially if the format's slow enough. Not to mention a 5/3 body by itself, as if it survives, is a real threat. It's a 4-turn clock, assuming you've done literally nothing up until turn 6. Mist Intruder. 2 mana, 1/2 flyer. Pretty good. And just whenever creature it deals combat damage to an opponent, they exile the top card of their library. I don't know how good that ability by itself is going to be. I can see that being a thing in control decks, because Mill becomes a realistic win con if it goes long enough in the mirror. But I don't think by itself it does really anything. Maybe works with Ashiok in some sort of aggressive Mill, but that's hard to say. But I think that it has play with the next card we're going to look at. Next card we're looking at is Blight Herder, 5 mana, 4/5. Pretty on par. Again, asymmetrical, like every other Eldrazi we've seen thus far. But here's where it gets good. It says when you cast Blight Herder, you may put 2 cards your opponents own from exile back into their owner's library graveyard. If you do, put 3/1/1 Eldrazi Scion creature tokens onto the battlefield that have sacrifice this creature, add 1 to your mana pool. Now, the Eldrazi Scion are just like the Eldrazi Spawn from the original Zendikar block, but instead of being 0/1s, they are 1/1s, which makes them infinitely more useful. That's the real deal here. Now, Mist Intruder helps set up Blight Herder, because turn 2 you drop Mist Intruder. It's a 1/2 evasion, not a big threat by itself. It'll probably get through. So turn 3 you get through, turn 4 you get through, turn 5 you get through, and then on your your after combat main phase you drop Blight Herder. Take you choose from 3 of the cards that were exiled. You choose 2 of them, put them back into that opponent's graveyard, and then you get 7 power for 5 mana, and those 3 you can immediately sack 4 mana. So if you have some sort of 3 mana card that you want to play, you can do that turn. It immediately ramps you 3 mana. So we'll look at the next card, which kind of combos with that's been spoiled so far. Next card is Titan's Presence. It is a 3 mana colorless instant. It says as long as an additional cost to cast Titan's Presence, reveal a colorless creature card from your hand. Exile target creature if its power is less than or equal to the revealed card's power. So you're talking about dropping a 4/5 onto the battlefield and with Blight Herder, and then potentially turning right around and exiling one of your opponent's creatures. As a turn 5 play, you get a 4/5 and get to just straight up exile one of your opponent's creatures, which is quite powerful. I can see that kind of being a thing, possibly. I don't know that it will be, but I think that Blight Herder is quite powerful. I think that it will see some standard play. I definitely think it will see Commander play. I don't know about Modern, though. It seems a little slow for what Modern wants to do. The next card we're going to look at is Incubator Drone. It's a 4 mana 2/3, yet again another asymmetrical. Eldrazi Drone. This is when Incubator Drone enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 colorless Eldrazi Scion creature token onto the battlefield, and it has, sack 1 to add 1 to your battlefield, to your mana pool. For a common, totally acceptable. I don't think you'll see play in any format other than maybe limited, unless you see a deck that really wants the Eldrazi Spawn tokens, Scion tokens. Next, we'll look at Oran Reef Hydra. 6 mana, 5/5 with trample. It's pretty good. Landfall, whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Oran Reef Hydra. If it happens to be a forest, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. Works pretty well with Nissa, and I think Nissa is good. I don't think she's fantastic, but I think she's good. But I don't know that Oran Reef Hydra is good enough at 6 mana. I think that you're going to have to find some way to ramp really hard into that, and losing Shrine of Nykthos makes that very difficult. So we'll have to see what else is spoiled, but I don't think by itself Oran Reef Hydra is good enough. I think it's going to need some other card support. Next card we'll look at is another common. It's a 5 mana 4/4. Kozilek's Channeler. Is it a Eldrazi, a colorless, of course. And it has tap, add 2 to your mana pool. It is kind of ramp, but it's really late game ramp. Maybe Commander wants this. I can't imagine this seeing play in any other format. I can't imagine what deck could possibly give a crap about ramping 2 mana on turn 6 from a 5 mana 4/4. Other than maybe Commander, if you're going with a strictly colorless deck, with some sort of colorless Commander. I can't. I don't see it. Next card we'll look at is Eldrazi Devastator. It's an 8 mana 8/9 trample, another asymmetrical Eldrazi. Limited bomb. I don't see it getting play anywhere else. Next card we'll look at is Radiant Flames. 3 mana, red, sorcery. Radiant Flames deals X damage to each creature, where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast Radiant Flames. So this is basically like a revisit to, not Radiance, but it was in the original Mirrodin, they had this called Sunburst, I believe. It's very similar to that, if not exactly the same thing. This is where X is the number of colors spent to play it. So it's a 3 mana spell. You're talking max, you could spend 3 colors on it. So at its best, it's going to be an Anger of the Gods. It won't even be an Anger of the Gods because it doesn't exile, and that's very relevant. I just don't. Sorcery speed, maybe if it were instant, I could see some advantage to this in a 2-color deck. To having a 2-color, 3 mana instant cast Pyroclasm would be good, but I just don't see it. I don't see it in any format, as a matter of fact. Maybe limited, I guess, but beyond limited, I don't think that card has any play at all. Except for where decks just are desperately looking for a Pyroclasm. But even then, I don't see it. And you have to make sure you have to keep 2 colors untapped in order for Pyroclasm for you to get the Pyroclasm. Otherwise, it's just a Rain of Blades. Ruinous Path, 3 mana, destroy target creature or planeswalker. Hey, you know what? That sounds an awful lot like Hero's Downfall, except for it's not, because it's sorcery speed, which kind of sucks, which makes it almost a strictly worse Dreadbore. So where's the advantage? Awaken. So this is one of the first cards we've seen so far that has the Awaken mechanic on it. If you pay 7 mana to destroy a target creature or planeswalker, you get to turn one of your lands into a 4/4 that is now susceptible to removal. I'll let you figure that one out on your own. I'm not sold. I don't think that's great. 7 mana, we better be playing really long games as a control deck, man. Blue-black control, Esper control, something. I'm not seeing it otherwise. Maybe as a budget replacement to Hero's Downfall in Modern. I could see this having play in a black, mono-black, red-black commander deck as a way to kill opposing planeswalkers, because you don't really have a lot of just kill planeswalker cards. So Ruinous Path has a place there. Next card we're going to look at is Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hungerer. 10 mana, 10/10. This is one of the few symmetrical Eldrazi we've seen, and is also indestructible. Whenever you cast it, exile target permanent, 2 target permanents. So opponent stuck on 3 lands, now they're stuck on 1. Now that's 10 mana. I can see this having play in Modern, in Tron, because they can ramp into this and completely mana hose the opponent and just win off the back of that, and what else could you possibly need? On the flip side of that too, 3 attacks straight mills your opponent, because it has the ability whenever it attacks, defending player exiles the top 20 cards of his or her library. So basically, here's how this works. 10 mana, lands this card, exiles 2 of your opponent's lands. Unless they path to exile it, you kill them in at least 3 turns, assuming they're able to chump block it, because it's a 10/10. So you're guaranteed to kill them in at least 2 if they can't chump block, guaranteed 3 if they can. And that depends on what turn of the game that you drop this on, because you're not going to be dropping it before, at best, turn 4 even in Modern. And assuming you land low, you play out Tron perfectly with maybe a 3rd or a 4th Tron land, like a duplicate on turn 4. You can drop this turn 4 and turn 5, turn 6 the game's over, or turn 7. Stupid powerful card. Still dives to Path, so I don't know that Tron really wants this. I think if anything wants it, Tron does. I think this card is stupid powerful. I just don't know that it's better than what Tron already has access to, which is disgusting to say the least, because Tron has access to some really powerful stuff. Next we have the best white planeswalker I think that's ever been printed, Gideon, Ally of Zendikar. You better believe I'm picking up playsets of these bad boys as soon as they're available. This is a 4 mana 4/4 white. Requires 2 white, 2 colorless. Okay, now here's where this gets stupid. His ultimate ability can be used the turn he hits the battlefield. Okay, this is going to see play in black-white tokens in Modern, because you can just drop him and turn him into an unremovable. You kill him in the process, but you turn him into an unremovable, strictly better Honor of the Pure, because it affects all of your creatures, not just the white ones. Okay, Gideon, nuts. Okay, that's his ultimate. The fact that we can start off there is stupid. Okay, so let's go to his +1. Until in turn, Gideon turns into a 5/5. That's pretty respectable. Not quite the 6/6 that his big brother is, and not quite the 4/4 that his little brother is, Kithion. But it's still an indestructible, still a planeswalker. Prevent all damage that happens to him. So they can't bolt him to remove loyalty counters. They can't block him to remove loyalty counters. He's indestructible, so he just plows through whatever. And he turns back into a planeswalker the next turn, so you can't languish or mutilate him. This guy's broken. Oh, by the way, he has another ability. I don't know if we mentioned that. 0, he puts a 2/2 White Knight creature token onto the battlefield. Puts a 2/2. Doesn't affect his tough or his loyalty at all, but he still gets to create a 2/2. That is nuts. And then the very next turn, you create your 2/2, -4 him, you give that 2/2 a +1/+1, permanent +1/+1. It's now a 3/3, as long as it stays on the battlefield. Tokens is going to eat this guy up. If you see tokens hit tier 2, it's because of this guy. I guarantee you they'll drop Sorin in a heartbeat for Gideon, and probably go mostly white in that point. And control wants him, because he's 1 mana less than Gideon Jura. He is easily as good. All of his abilities can be used the turn you drop him. Not that I think they'll really want his -4, but he can protect himself with his 0 mana ability. He creates blockers for himself. I can't see him curving into eventually Elspeth. This is just nuts, because he makes Elspeth's Sun's Champion even better. Because if you have an Elspeth on the field and you drop a Gideon afterwards, you make Elspeth better by simply having Gideon there. This is crazy. This will see play in Modern. It'll see play in Standard. I see this guy hitting $30 easy. And he's going to make, in Modern, he's going to make black and white tokens a tier 2 deck pretty easily. If anything is going to make black and white tokens a tier 2 deck, it's going to be this Gideon. This guy's nuts. He's the real deal. So then we get to a couple other things here. We've got Prairie Stream, Sunken Hollow, Smoldering Marsh, Cinderglade, and Canopy Vista. These are allied colored duels. Now these are interesting because they are duels that have the basic land type stapled to them the exact same way that the shock lands do. However, they are automatically entering untapped if you control at least 2 lands, which is going to make, because you can fetch these, which is going to be really, 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 really good in Modern. I plan on picking up Smoldering Marsh for my Modern Commander, or my Modern Black-Red control deck, which uses Liliana. This basically gives me 8 swamps that tap for red. I can't imagine what else I could possibly dream of with Liliana of the Dark Realms. But that's kind of what these are. They're slow lands, but they're slow check shock lands without the shock. It's really weird, very cool. Yes, want all day long. There's a few more cards to go over, but we're reaching time here, so we're going to split those into a different video, and I'll be back with you guys later. Have a good time. If you like the content, want to hear more from us, go ahead and leave a like and a subscribe. Comment, let us know what you think about these cards as well, what you plan on playing, what you want to pick up, and tell your friends. Have a good day, guys.